Beez here for Blackcraft with Randall Blythe, and we've just smashed up a television in a parking lot. When this was first put to you and you came up with the concept of this, my first thought was, where does the problem with television start?
In general, or with me personally?
With you personally towards television, and then in general.
Right. As a young child, I lived in rural North Carolina, and like all kids in the Western world generally, and everywhere else now apparently, except for deep in the jungle somewhere in the Amazon, we had a TV in the house, and it's like almost drug-like. Even on tour now, when I'm on tour, I don't watch TV at home ever. Ever.
Do you own one?
We own one. My wife and I do. We'll use it to watch movies.
Right, got you.
Because that's, and we can talk about a little bit the difference between movies and television in a second. But living in North Carolina, like all people, all kids, there was a TV in the house, and you wanted to watch Saturday morning cartoons and all that stuff. And you think that's pretty harmless in general. But to this day, as an adult, when I'm on tour with my band, there's TVs all over. I live in the back lounge of the bus. The TV does not come on, not once. On a 2-month tour, it will never come on.
Right.
But in the front, it's always blaring, 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 blaring. And I feel like when I'm walking by it, if I start looking at it, I get caught in it, And it's designed to do that. It's designed to draw you in because of advertising dollars. Content is designed to make you become a sponge, basically. You're absorbing whatever they're passing to you via osmosis. Television requires zero thought process. It's an entirely passive experience, and I'm not a passive person. I'm a proactive, and I don't want to say aggressive because that has negative connotations, but I'm an aggressive person. I live life aggressively.
Yeah.
Watching television is not aggressive. So when I was a young child, I watched TV, and then when I was in the 3rd grade, I believe, our television blew up. I think there was a lightning storm, and it...
As in fucking kaboom.
Yeah, it short-circuited.
Yeah.
Television's done. And, I don't come from a rich family. However, I come from a well-educated family. And my father and mother were like, no, we're not going to replace that. So we didn't have a TV again in our home that we owned until, 7th grade or something.
Right.
And I'd always enjoyed reading books. So with no TV, I was reading a lot more and going outside and actually living life, instead of vicariously experiencing some fallacious experience through a screen, because it's not real.
I mean, it's even more so now with mobile phones.
It's everywhere. It's everywhere. So when we finally got a TV, I would watch TV some, around 7th grade, but it was like,
What shows?
Saturday Night Live. I'd stay up to watch Saturday Night Live. On the weekends, that was a big deal. But for the most part, to this day, when people talk to me in America about, and I'm sure it would be the same for you in the UK, the shows they watch as a kid, do you remember this guy from this show? Or now, when people are talking about whatever show they're watching, I'm just like, I have no fucking clue of what you're talking about. Because I don't watch that stuff.
Do you actively avoid television?
As much as possible. As I just said, on tour, in the back lounge, there's no TV. And when I walk through the front of the tour bus, I get irritated if I'm up there enough. And people are hanging out. When we have guests on the tour bus, you'll see them come up and hang out in the front lounge because that's the common area. There's always a TV on. And we're all talking, and then all of a sudden you'll just see people looking because there's a TV there and there's a TV there. And the human experience is gone. Instead, we're all just sitting there as sponges, absorbing whatever's coming through the TV. And whatever, television programming is not accidental. And from the music business, we certainly have a marketing aspect, but everything is marketed in television. Everything is about keeping you glued to that television so that you're going to watch another advertisement. We just had the Super Bowl, Welcome to America, even though you didn't go to the Super Bowl party. The budget spent on commercials for the Super Bowl
wild.
could fix the economic woes of a third world nation in an instant, you know? And it's to sell fucking beer or shoes or whatever the hell they sell on TV. And it drives me insane. On the last Lamb of God album, we had a song called Engage the Fear Machine. And that's precisely about the news media and how they use anything to keep you glued to the television in order to get those advertising dollars. And specifically the incident that set that off for me was the Ebola scare. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Okay. I was traveling a lot at that time. I was doing some flying for, I don't even know why I was flying around, but I was flying through the States quite a bit. And I went through some of the airports where supposedly these people who had come to the country bringing the Ebola virus, and yes, it's a terrible disease, and yes, it kills people, but walking through the airport, there's TVs everywhere in the airport, right? And they're blaring like Ebola, Ebola, Ebola everywhere you looked in the news, on every, major news network website, and every TV everywhere. Ebola, Ebola. You would think that right now we were all going to be dead.
Yeah.
Ebola's going to kill us all.
We had mad cow disease.
And we've had swine flu, we've had avian.
You guys had out here in the mail.
And it's this constant like, Ebola, Ebola, and this fear.
Yeah.
I was walking through the airport and I watched people, someone would cough and people would be like this. And I'm like, what the fuck, man? We're going back to the Middle Ages.
Yeah.
It's like the bubonic plague is spreading around or something. And my brother-in-law actually is a molecular biologist who plays with the AIDS virus and all that other shit. I talked to him and I'm like, what do you think about the Ebola stuff? And he's like, man, as far as deadly diseases go and plagues, Ebola's a pretty good one because it's going to kill itself out fairly soon. It works so quick, people are going to quarantine, and then it's going to be done.
Right.
But I remember thinking, like, why is the media using, and all sensationalists, the way the news presenters talk and stuff.
Yeah.
So sensationalist. Why are they instilling so much fear in the American public right now? Massive amounts of fear.
It is intense all the time.
It is advertising dollars. It's advertising dollars. Do you think the head of the network is sitting there going, oh my God, Ebola? No, he's not. He's like, I'm getting rich, motherfucker.
Yeah. They always say the money's not in the disease, the money's in the cure. And that's right. What they're selling on those ads.
That's right. And it made me crazy. Also, television, you were asking about this as a young kid. There was a book I got turned on to by my father called 4 Arguments for the Abolition of Television. 4 Arguments for the Abolition or Elimination of Television. I can't remember which one. By a guy named Jerry Mander, which is probably not funny to you, but that's a political term here.
Okay.
So, and the guy in the 70s wrote this book, and it laid out very logical arguments for why television is a flawed tool for teaching.
Right.
Okay? Because, as I've said before, and he went into the science of it, as I've said before, it's an entirely passive process, right?
Yeah.
And people are like, I watch the Discovery Channel. And every now and then you'll hear someone say, I learned a little something from watching the History Channel or something. But that information is presented in such a rapid fire manner.
Yeah.
And you're not actually having to use your cognitive abilities to process it. It's just coming in. When you read a book, your mind has to recreate what the writer has written.
Right.
That's why I like writing fiction is magic, or even nonfiction, because you can sit down when you're writing and you write about, suppose I wrote about my trip to Beez's house in England, If I'm a good writer, I'm going to make this person envision your house.
Yeah.
And it will be their own version of your house because they've never been there.
Yeah.
You know, and that requires the brain cells to move.
When I was a journalist, I was taught when you meet Marilyn Manson, he's not that cool. It's your job to make him that cool to everyone who's not met him.
Right.
Right. When I'm using the written word. So
they also did studies, and you know they haven't changed. In fact, it's probably gotten worse. Where when people watch TV, they were studying their brain waves. They enter the same sort of brainwave state as someone who is hypnotized or in sleep, not deep REM sleep, but it's like you're not active. Your brain is not active. So when you're sitting there watching TV, amusing yourself, you know, what are you really doing? You're just sitting there absorbing something that somebody else made in order to sell you something or instill some sort of fear in you so that you will need, you know, someone else to come and fix your problem.
What about Friends, though? That doesn't fall into either of those.
I've never watched Friends.
Like, there's no one ever, like, try... If you're
people told me, you need to watch this.
Yeah, like, I bet.
No, I don't. You need to read Dostoevsky.
I got ya.
How about that?
When you're
think about this. You talk about books, man. I can tell you hundreds and hundreds of books that changed my life. That I can go back, you know, and pick them up since I was a child and read them. Tell me your favorite television show from 6 years ago. Tell me about an episode that changed your life, motherfucker. It didn't. You know, you might as well be jerking off. I busted nuts that have changed my life more than that. You know?
Do you ever find yourself in social settings where television sways you in any way?
No.
Right.
No, because what do you mean?
Are you when you say about the kind of the subliminal getting sucked in by it.
Right.
Do you ever find yourself sucked in by it, or are you so staunchly anti-television that the second that you even feel yourself doing it, you get a kind of spidey sense? I
try to be cognizant of the effect that this programming is having on me. Right. I try to, you know. McDonald's comes on. I'm like, I'm kind of hungry. That looks kind of good. Nope, that's garbage.
Right, got you.
But I'm a human being. These people are incredibly intelligent. And television is a form of social engineering. You know? These people are portraying a lifestyle in order to make you consume. They are portraying body images in order to make you consume. You know? They're portraying all these things that are, in fact, fantasy and, you know, inaccessible to common people. You know, that's why people think about why would people love to watch, what's his name? He's one of your countrymen. Lifestyles of the Rich and the Famous. Fucking, what was his name? Do you remember this show?
What years? What year?
I don't remember, but you hear people imitating.
Right.
He was some Englishman, and Lifestyles of the Rich and the Famous.
It's not coming to me.
Yeah,
it's not coming to me.
He was an Englishman, and he was the host.
YouTube comments are going to be fucking great for this.
Yeah,
Worst English dude ever.
He was an Englishman, and he would go to these like fantastically, like the 1%, you know, people who lived in these houses, and they're just massive like homes and 50 million Rolls Royces in the garage or whatever, and he's like, Robin Leach, I'm Robin Leach, Lifestyles of the Rich and the Famous, and like people would watch that. What's the point? You know, what's the point? It makes you want something you can't have. So you can't have the Rolls Royce, but if one of these people is wearing, you know, has like some sort of a Cuisinart in their kitchen that's only $200, you can get that, you know.